Hey, what up? What up? Hey man, we a little bit behind schedule. Had a little technical difficulties and whatnot, but we got, as one of my Facebook friends says that follows me, said, we got the Brady Bunch, the Brady Bunch, what I'm saying, visual going on. And so let's tag some people, let's get them in the room and whatnot. Um, please like, and share this video. We got three topics that we're gonna strive to get to today. And I know that the repeal or what I'm saying of Roe versus Wade is gonna be a pretty controversial topic and whatnot. We were talking about it earlier in Messenger, and we got some different takes on that one. You know what I'm saying? And so I got my views on that. Then we got the situation with Johnny Depp, which is a broader situation of we got a man in court right now, just basically testifying to the abuse that he received from his ex. And the question comes up, is why don't men, report their abuse? You know what I'm saying? There's multiple reasons why I think they don't do it. And then I want to talk about this whole thing of this man rushing the stage and tackling Dave Chapelle and ended up looking like an action figure. Arms all going in different directions, and I got my views on that. I'm a little biased on that, well, a little bit, because I am a performer. I also do. What I'm saying, in the comment section and whatnot. Go ahead and comment and just tell me how y'all feel about any of those situations. How you feel about Roe versus Wade being repealed and whatnot. Because one of the biggest questions I have is, does it save black babies' lives? I saw that somewhere out there. People were like, oh, this is going to save black children. And I got my views on that. You know what I'm saying? So let's just get some people in the room and whatnot, so they can, comment and whatnot, because I think this is going to be a very robust and enlightening, enriching, conversation and whatnot. Let's, I want to start first with the Johnny Depp thing. I think that's the ones that's further back in the news, but he was, he's saying some very interesting things. He's saying things like the delivery of the feces, and he was talking about how his ex had actually defecated on, in the bed or on his pillow or something like that, and he's detailing all these details. And I have personally, experienced Bobby making a lot of noise on a podcast, but I've also experienced, I've experienced in a relationship before, and I think the only time that I ever reported it, no, it's not. I think the only time I ever reported it is when the person that I was seeing at the time was talking about they were going to hurt themselves, and so I felt like, and I wasn't going to make it home in time, and I didn't even know that it's protocol to call the police first before you call any kind of paramedics or stuff. They're like the first responders, And so, that was the only time I've ever, called the police. But I have reasons why I haven't, in the past. But I just want to hear, from the rest of the panelists is like, why is this such a big deal that we're hearing it from a man talking about how he received abuse from a woman? And why don't you think that more men don't report the abuse that, that they receive from women in relationships? What you think?
I don't know if people have been watching the trial, but there was a comment that Miss Heard made on audio that said, "You go ahead and take it to trial. You, a man, saying a woman abused you, and see who cares." I think about that comment. There's such a strong belief in, you could say, I guess it's in patriarchy, but this sort of imbalance in strength. so to speak, that a
Mhm.
lot of people feel like, and they may not say it out loud, but a lot of people feel like a woman cannot abuse a man, which is hilarious to me. But there's people who have that belief, and I take it all the way back to being in school. If you have, a boy in first grade or something, and he gets into an issue with a little girl, the first thing that you tell your son or small boy is, "You're not allowed to hit girls." And that's something that, the boy might say, "But she did this, but she did that," and it's going to be hardwired at that point. You don't hit girls no matter what, and that carries all throughout the rest of your life. And so I think that when you're brought up in that tradition of I guess patriarchy and belief in male physical supremacy, I do think that it makes you less likely to believe that you can be abused, and I think it makes you less likely to identify abuse.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that we grow up, the majority of us in the community saying like, you can defend yourself, like hold their hands, like hold a young woman's hands or something like that, or restrain them, but you're not supposed to, you know, um, hit a woman or a young woman or a girl. I remember one time I was like in fourth or fifth grade, and it was kind of layered. Because I grew up the only child for 17 years, and I remember this girl had just like smacked me in the face, and it was like not even provoked. And I didn't hit her back for one. I remember crying to my mom. I remember going home. I said I cried for two reasons. I cried, number one, because like you always tell me not to hit a girl. And then number two is like, I don't have any brothers and sisters, and she got brothers, and I know they was gonna beat me up. So if I retaliated. So it was kind of like twofold. And I think that we're told to defend, women at all costs. I know I hear a lot of men like saying that they're going to defend their sisters, you know what I'm saying? A lot of them, if they're involved in a situation, even if they were abused by someone. And that's why, and if they were abusing someone, pardon self. And that's what I was thinking of as a person who didn't have any brothers or sisters to defend me. I was like, she's going to go get her brothers. I know she had brothers, and they're just going to beat me up. They're not going to hear my side of the story at all. They're just going to hear that I got hit and then I hit back. And then they're going to be like, the justification for me getting beat up or stomped out is because you shouldn't retaliate when you're hit. And I think we carry that. And there's some other layers to that. But I wanted Trisha and Precious to chime in and see what their feedback is.
Oh, I think the aspect that most men are missing from this is the fact that she is so much younger than him. And well, I think this is also an issue of elder abuse. And I know people don't want to think of Johnny Depp as this elderly man, but I mean, he's much older than her. And it's when you're older, you are susceptible to being abused. And I think in cases like this, particularly when a man is older and more powerful, to the outside world, he's probably less likely to admit that there's abuse going on in the home, particularly from a younger woman towards him. So less likely to say anything. And yeah, the older you are, the more susceptible that you are to elder abuse. I think it's great on his behalf that his ex, the woman that he lived with, it seemed like forever, and had two children with, who was the same age that he left in order to pursue Amber, who at that point said she was, I think she was in a relationship with a woman, had a fight at SeaTac Airport, even with this woman that she was in a relationship with for, domestic abuse there. And yet he pursued that relationship with her. And maybe because of all of these things, it's less like he probably would be less likely to admit that he was being abused at home. But yeah, there are a lot of different layers to it. And yeah, maybe I've watched and read bits of the trial, I don't want to say it's white on white crime, but I think it's something that we should have obviously discussions about when men are abused. When men are abused. And I don't mean to make light of it, but I know, if it was one of us, and this would be a completely different story in terms of people standing up, particularly if this were like a Black man admitting that he was being abused by his partner. I don't think he would receive the same amount of support as Johnny Depp. But
yeah,
what do you think, Precious?
Yeah.
I'm glad you said it before I said it, because if I had said it first, people would probably come for my throat. So I'm glad you said it before I said it. And this is what I was saying, yesterday or the day before. I'm gonna go ahead and keep on. I have not kept up with this case. I looked at it as white people problems. I ain't really about. I ain't gonna front. I just say, hey, that's a problem. Hope it works out the best for them. But people have to understand is Johnny Depp is not your average Joe. I think that's what a lot of people have to understand. Johnny Depp has what the average Joe don't have. He has unlimited access to resources. He is a millionaire. He has power in Hollywood, and he's a top lister. Okay, so he has resources that him getting that situation. I find that so odd. I'm not gonna lie. It kind of threw me. I was like, "Whoa, this happening to you?" And what Trisha said, this girl is 20 years his junior. So it's like, wait a minute. And Johnny, and this is where I also talked about the power dynamics. I was like, so who has the power in this sort of scenario? Was it her the whole time? And if so, how did that happen? Because usually when it comes to domestic violence areas, a power dynamic, and it's usually somebody who got more power or they have more money or more pull. And a lot of times, unfortunately, it be the man than the woman. So I find that so interesting. I'm like, you got with this abuser, this nasty ass person, by the way, and you stay married to him for 2 years. I said, how the hell do you got caught up in this one? And I know how we tend to look at it as much, and then I think now I had to think about it. It kind of goes back what we say about women. Like, we know how a lot of women, the society would say women tend to love bad boys and thugs or whatever, and they're attracted to them. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it does work in reverse as well. And there are men who are drawn to bitches. No. There are men who are drawn to those type of women, and that shit look nice. It looks all good and nice.
Oh my goodness.
And that type of attitude, whatever it's towards them, there's no longer a pretty picture.
Yeah, okay, Precious never fails to catch us off guard. We did not see that one coming. That was a sucker punch. Okay. Yeah, I mean, contrast in relationships, opposite, attracts, does work in some situations. What I heard Trisha saying is that it could be a situation of age too, and you added on to that, Precious, by saying, how much power does he really have if he's older? But I kind of heard a little bit you saying like he's always going to have more power because he's a millionaire, he's a man, and he's older.
In terms of the patriarchal society we are in, based off of the stereotype of it, they don't necessarily that's all. Obviously, this is exception to the rule, obviously, but usually in these type of scenarios, especially in Hollywood, it usually be the male that got the more power to really do some damage. Not saying that the woman can't do that or be in that position of power, but I don't see that sort of dynamic happen often compared to the opposite. So looking at the scenario, I say this definitely is the exception to the rule here, because apparently she was a pistol, whoever she is.
Yeah, and that's why we got to be careful profiling people and then thus profiling the relationships they're in. You know what I'm saying? Each person is different. We don't know what kind of trauma, either one of those people were in prior to being in that relationship that sets, the, framework for their relationship. We don't know if with all the power and privilege that Johnny Depp has as a white man in Hollywood for so many years, being a blockbuster, actor with, money, we don't know how he was treated, by his parents. We don't know, what his aces are, which makes him, like you said, vulnerable, to people who could take advantage of him and whatnot. But that's why I was saying, like, let's get away just from the Johnny Depp thing and just look at it just from a community issue of men just not reporting it at all. And why did they not report it? And I'm hearing because, you know, it makes you look weak too. You know, you lose a lot of power in the patriarchal framework when you're like, hey man, this woman, you know, did this, that, and the third. I know growing up in circles of men, I'm a private person anyway, but I'm even more private when we talking about how I was vulnerable to what was done to me by a woman. Like if she cheated on me or something like that, or, you know what I'm saying? Even especially situations with my children, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to show any kind of weakness in that regard, just because of how I've been socially conditioned, you know, and it's sometimes it protects me. And then sometimes, you know, it comes in as a deficit, you know what I'm saying? And I've learned in my years on this planet to balance it out. But I'm not going to sit here and lie and say, hey, yeah, you know, I become even more private when it comes to me being vulnerable as a man. You know what I mean? I'm definitely not going to be showing all these emotions in front of people in public when I've been hurt by someone, especially when it comes to being hurt by a woman, because just how I've been conditioned. Yeah, and I'm fine with that because it works for me. I'm at peace with it. If it's something that I feel like I need to work on more, I will. But, you know, that could be incredibly, you know, devastating to a man to, when he's not ready to admit when he's vulnerable to his peer group. You know, I do men's groups every Sunday, you know what I'm saying, at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Zoom. Inbox me if you guys want to get in. But we strive our hardest to create that safe place to talk about certain things. And I've noticed that when we first started, it's 5 or 6, 7, 8 men, you know, on that Zoom call. And then we start talking about real things. And then it drops down to, you know, 2 men. It'd be just me and my brother Barsan, you know what I'm saying? And even he will admit, you know, it's hard to be vulnerable and say certain things. But this situation with Johnny Depp comes like in a long line of things that we can see in celebrities that we can definitely relate back to, like specific, you know, intimate people in our community, like the stuff that happened with Tyrese years ago. You remember when he was on his video crying, talking about why are you doing this to me? Why are you taking, you know, my kids? The stuff that just now happened to Will Smith, you know, how he's on like Red Table Talk crying. They made a famous meme because, you know, Jada's always, always quote, you know what I'm saying, talking about how, you know, she's not happy in the relationship, her, you know, her desire, you know, and a love affair with, you know, Tupac and this is that and the third. So it's like there are so many examples of men being ridiculed by their significant other when they're being vulnerable. And it almost seems like it's almost unnatural for a man to show feelings and whatnot. So, and I also think the definition of abuse changes when the woman is the aggressor and the man is the attacker. I think it takes a lot less for a man to be termed an abuser than it does a woman. For instance, like chronic cheating. I've done little, you know what I'm saying, casual, you know what I'm saying, surveys and stuff. I personally think chronic cheating, you know what I'm saying, is a form of abuse. I do. And it's usually in terms of when a man does it that people usually agree with me. But when a woman cheats more than once, it's kind of like, you know, you should leave her. You know, why are you dealing with that? You know what I'm saying? Whatever kind of derogatory term you want to use, you know, why are you trying to turn a hoe into a housewife, that kind of stuff. But it's not deemed as abuse. It's more like, why are you dealing with that whore? You know, and I always thought that was kind of interesting how we play these double standards when abuse is abuse.
But it's not it's not abuse, because the idea is that emotionally you would never be so compromised by somebody as to be taken advantage of on that level. I mean, I remember being like a senior in high school, and one of my friends brought somebody to prom, and we knew that they had an infidelity issue. We were just in high school, and we were like, why would you do that? Like, why would they even be here? You could take anybody. Why would you take her? Like, what is it that she has that got you tripping so hard you're gonna let her do you like that? And I was like, we're just sitting there. There's a bunch of dudes. You've been those days, like, couldn't be me. And everybody's saying that. Now, how many of them were getting taken advantage of in other ways? Doesn't matter. In that moment, on that day, when people had knowledge about it, like, that was a bad look for him amongst his male peers. Like, that's just what it is, because it's like, what do you mean you love her? What does that mean? Like, you should still be able to walk away from it. That's the perspective. To me, at least, that's a common male perspective, that you would never allow yourself to be entrenched so deep that someone could grease you like that and you would stay. That would be viewed as feminine. Like, it is what it is.
And there's some latency in there too, right? You feel me? The latency is that a woman doesn't even have the strength. Like, it's the disrespect of a woman too. She doesn't even have the strength or the power to actually hurt a man. I feel like that's latent in that. And I'm like, of course she does. Like, women are incredibly powerful and strong, you know what I'm saying? You know, human beings just as a man is, you know what I'm saying? But we use that as a latent way to disrespect women, be like, oh man, you got hurt by a woman. I mean, she's weaker than you just by nature. You got hurt by a woman, you must be weak.
And then it goes, into the physical abuse. I remember the one for me that shocked me was Jeremy Stevens and Hope Solo.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know if you guys remember him, but like, Jeremy Stevens is like 6'8", 265 pounds. Played in the NFL, and his girlfriend is an Olympic athlete. She was beating his ass. Mm-hmm. And I just remember thinking, like, how are you gonna be 6'8" getting your ass kicked? That was my first thought.
She's a better fighter.
Then I met her. then I stood next to her, and I was like, oh yeah, she could do some work on just about anybody. But the reflexive reaction was, how are you gonna be a 6'8" dude and get beat up by your girl? That was my first thought. Mm-hmm. And that's just hardwired. And that's I think what you're saying too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Ronda Rousey got some allegations against her too, like she was putting hands on her significant other at some point. And in this situation with Johnny Depp, I read something where, I think what Trisha said, to add on to what Trisha said, she was in a same-sex relationship prior to Johnny Depp, and she was putting hands on that young woman also.
Arrested at SeaTac in Seattle. Don't ask me how I know, but she was laying hands on her.
I want to ask this question though. Do you think when it comes to, I agree with you, Logic, chronic cheating is abuse. I personally looked at it as abuse. I'm surprised a lot of people didn't view it. I've always looked at it as abuse, but I find it interesting when y'all say when the women do it, they call why you still with or whatever. You don't see that too much with when it's in reverse. And I've been wondering, is it because this society still kind of look at women as property, and the fact because it's since they're property in a sense, they don't necessarily they under the perception that they don't have any rights or any power to do harm to another person, particularly a man, especially in this type of society. I've always wondered, is that why that when a woman actually does do some damage, she's really, really demonized compared to when it's in reverse? I don't know. It's just something I've been noticing.
Situation where women are demonized for doing damage?
Damage in terms of, in a realm of cheating, probably some other things as well. It's like society is programmed that that kind of behavior is the norm coming from men. But when a woman does if she does it the same way, she's a lot more ridiculed because that's not what women do or supposed to do.
Yeah, it's not ladylike.
Yes. And I was like, I wonder if that's because many men still view women as property, and of course, as property, you don't have that you're not supposed to have that kind of power or ability to be destructive.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one because I've also heard that it's to be expected that a woman's going to be more emotional. And that's why we got the trend, you know what I'm saying, in the movies, that it's so like it's almost normalized and it's almost justified for a woman to put her hands on a man when he does cheat. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you see all these movies where the man does something that he's not supposed to do, especially cheat, and then you get that, you know, that cliche, you know, slap scene. You know, he's like, ugh. And he's just kind of like, you know, and but it's like people kind of normalize that it's okay for a woman to hit a man if he cheats. Like we see this in the movie all the time. But in real life, it's kind of a setup because women be putting their hands on men and then getting beat down sometimes too. You know what I mean? But it's almost like men in so many communities, you know what I'm saying, you know, sometimes restrain themselves because they justify that a woman is more emotional and she's going to fly off the hook, and she's almost justified to hit you because she's more emotional by nature. And I just think all that stuff is pseudoscience. Emotions are emotions, because men are just as emotional as women. And we may act it out a different way that's more socially acceptable. And abuse is abuse. Period, point blank. I want to address this Keandre comment. It says it sounds funny, but it's almost sexist nowadays to not hit a woman back if she hits you first. That's a pretty complicated statement. So it's kind of like he wants to be
I don't know if the word nowadays could be used, but that's always been the case. I don't know if the word nowadays will be the term to use in my opinion. At least I've always thought that always been the case. But shit, Dottie wouldn't been put in the grave lately, so I don't know about that.
I've taught my sons to walk away or run away. If she's coming at you, leave. Don't, because I don't feel like bailing you out of jail. So we walk away, turn your back and walk away.
Yeah.
And it's so funny.
And why do you say that? You say that why? Why do you say that? Because you think that the law is gonna be
I think especially if police are, because the neighbors will call police, someone else can call police. If police show up and there's a fight and they're Black men, who's going to be in handcuffs first until they find out what's going on? Who's going to be shot at first? It's not worth it. Yeah. I've always told them that, you know, in dealings with relationships and with women, do not raise your hand no matter what. And I don't know if that makes them look weak or whatever, but it means that I don't have to have bail money to get you out of jail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder, you know, I've only been in a situation where I fought men in public. And I know that usually when the police show up, they be like, was this a situation of mutual combatants? You know what I mean? And if it's mutual combatants, it's kind of like, you know, make sure that it's, you know, it's over, da-da-da-da. Does anyone want to file charges? The answer is no. Then they go away. I wonder what it's like if a man fights a woman. Do they roll up and say, are you guys mutual combatants? Does anyone want to press charges? If not, then we're going our way.
I've had this situation with my oldest, with a girl that he was seeing. He wanted to break up with her. She lost it and was trying to come at him. And he did you walk away and everything. And this was in my house. And then later I heard her talking about that she was going to kill herself. Mm-hmm. So then, call police. Police show up. They go to him first, not her, him first. And, what's going on. And they separate you to hear, I guess, both your stories of what's going on. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, she's threatening to harm herself. And because luckily he didn't touch, there's nothing on her in terms of like defensive, like blocking or anything. And it just ended at that. And they asked her, oh, do you intend on hurting yourself? And she's like, no. And then later on, when he was in therapy, found out that that's also emotional abuse. If someone like every time threatens, I'm just going to kill myself. And then afterwards they're not. So, and that's not to gender it, but that sometimes in abuse situations, a woman will use that to emotionally like manipulate someone, but they still came, separated them both, and then had the conversation. And I hate the conversation, Tom, because you never know what's going to happen or who they're going to believe.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that might be a photo finish though, because I work in a high school and I be hearing a lot of dudes, and I got 3 children too. I be hearing dudes talking about they want to hurt themselves too, when a woman, what I'm saying, wants to leave them and go their separate ways. But Keandre, I don't know, man. I gotta inject a little bit of humor now. I don't know if you can walk into a room and say to a whole bunch of women, like, I'm not a sexist, man, because I'm an equal opportunity, you know what I'm saying? Hitter, man. I hit women. If they hit me, I'm gonna hit them back. That's how I know I'm equal opportunity.
I think Keandre's point is about modern PC culture. And I think he's saying that sometimes it feels like the desire for everybody to be equals all the time means that if you don't hit them back, you don't see them as equals. I think his point is well-founded, even if you disagree with it. I think there are a portion of people who would take it to that extreme of everybody's the same, everybody should be treated the same, so there's no difference. Somebody would absolutely take that position.
And but here's the deal. This is the problem I have with that. That's a good point. That's a very good point. Saying, if I see a woman as an equal, you feel me? Then she hits me, I hit her back. That's how, But is that the only instance in your life experience when dealing with women where you employ that equality? You don't employ it when it comes to equal pay. You don't employ that, philosophy when it comes to co-leadership. You don't, for so many different things like running the house. You know what I'm saying? It only applies like if she hits me, I'm gonna hit her back. I'm equal opportunity by,
Mm-hmm. And that's the funny thing about it. I'm glad you said that, because it's funny when men do talk about equal rights for women, that's the first thing they think about is violence. They don't think about any other aspect in life outside of the violence. So I'm like, because it kind of makes me wonder, for the men who do say that, makes me wonder, if these laws wasn't here, you probably would have killed my black ass a long time ago if these laws wasn't in place. Granted, I don't go around starting shit, but I'm just saying, when I hear men say that, that gives me a red flag. Like, something tells me, put your hands on me. And I stay 500 feet away from them because I'm barely 5 foot. So I already know physically I can't take that man on at all.
Okay, Precious is in rare form today. That's she didn't hit us again, made us look like an action figure.
I'm just saying, no, I never put a hands on a man. Thank goodness I've never been in that situation. I thank goodness we never been in that situation. He felt like putting his hand or even threatened.
Yeah.
But
hey, Jermaine said it's okay for a woman to put hands on a man for any reason here. All right, we can be honest. We will find a way to make it okay. I think in a lot of situations that is true. Unfortunately, in too many situations, I think it's true. I don't know. I don't know if it's I see Trisha.
I'm not sure if that's sarcasm or what, but you better ask 50 Cent who pressed charge on Vivica Fox. So,
yeah. but in Jermaine's defense, it's probably because Vivica Fox thought what he just now wrote. I'm not, ain't no man gonna do nothing to me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm Vivica Fox. That's 50 Cent. He weighs 60, 70, 80 pounds more than me. You know what I'm saying? And I think 50 did it to make a point.
Yeah, I don't know if they ever got physical. I don't know about that. I just know she was stalking him. He was like, "Nah, we're gonna put the stop to that." Boom.
And I had that happen. You know what? Let me tell you something real quick. I got a story about this. This is a true story. I'm not gonna go real deep into it because it's kind of a long story. But when I was in the school district, Seattle school district, probably like year 6 or 7, I was stalked by a white woman who was one of the parents of one of my students. And she would pop up out of nowhere, leave little things for me. She made me like an R&B mixtape. I can laugh at it now. She made me a mix CD. And I remember, I swear to God, I can't make up these stories. One time I came to work, I changed schools, feel me? There was like a little green dragon on my desk. And I was like, who put that there? And we'll just say her name was Sapphire. Oh, some white woman named Sapphire and fit the description, came by and stopped by and left it on your desk. So I kept putting it on my coworker's desk like a little joke and everything. Then one time I was at a car wash. I swear I can't make this stuff up. I was in a car wash in South End, right across the street from Franklin. Give you a visual. Dude walks up. I know dude. He used to be married to this other woman. They used to run a restaurant in the community. He said, "Do you know Sapphire?" I was like, "Yes." That's one of my that's one of my former students' parents. He says, "She's a very spiritual human being. She's amazing. She wanted me to give this to you." What? I go into Starbucks. I swear to you, I can't make on 23rd and Jackson when I go to another school, Garfield. I go in there, I order me, you know what I'm saying, a vanilla soy latte. The person at the desk says, "Are you Logic I'm in?" I said, "Yes." Sapphire wanted me to get this to you. I can't make this up. I'm at Cafe Latte in West Seattle about 5 years later. I'm sitting, I'm looking at the window. This woman walks into the cafe. Two things. At that point, I really wanted to beat this woman up. I wanted to walk up to her and say, "Why you keep following me? I feel harassed. Man, I'm about to put hands on you." Number two thing, I didn't do that though, because like what Trish said, and like everyone in this room knows, I would have went to jail. 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 Number two thing is I didn't tell my wife until years later. And the reason why, it's like, she gonna find out some kind of way to blame this on me and that I provoked this. That's another reason why.
You're not married to this person anymore. I just like to point that out.
No, everyone, I mean, I thought
that might have been a sign. The fact you couldn't share that story.
Well, that's my fault for not sharing it. But I'm just telling you the reason why. That's not her fault that I didn't share it. It's my fault.
Did you think your wife would have stomped her down?
No, absolutely not. I'm literally think that my wife would have found some kind of way that I was provoking her. And like, well, what Logic, what are you doing? What are you doing? How are you leading this woman on? Are you flirting with her?
This is not the porcelain doll you spoke about some time ago.
No, that was purely that was social media.
Okay, never mind. Keep going.
All right. Anyways, that's it. That's it. Anyways. I'm sure Bobby got some stories. I think a lot of men have stories, you know. Key Porty says, "What is this? Self-defense is real, but people shouldn't physically harm one another, especially in a relationship. Just leave in the relationship. Anything else is punishable by law. As a survivor, if ever tagged again, please give." I don't know. When inviting people into the convo. I don't know. I mean, if you didn't know, oh, okay. My bad. I'm sorry. Pardon self. I was just tagging people, you know, let you know that Seed Talk exists. Pardon self. But anyways, I think we can move on to the next topic. Because I want to do Roe versus Wade being repealed. I want to do that last. So let's talk a little bit about just what are your thoughts in general. I don't want to pinpoint any specific question, but what's your thought about what happened to this person who rushed the stage at a Dave Chapelle show and thought it was a good idea to tackle Dave Chapelle, and Dave Chappelle's security, along with Busta Rhymes and Jamie Foxx, proceeded to make this young person look like an action figure. I mean, the arm was turned the wrong way. Face looked like, yeah. What are your thoughts? Because I know this is going a lot of places. I know a lot of people are going to be like, see, this is what Will started. Some people might be like, oh, that was a little bit of overkill. What are your first thoughts?
That person made that choice on their own to go up on that stage, but for one, because I'm pretty sure there's other comedians on tour besides Dave Chapelle. They not have nobody run up on them for one. So to say that Will Smith triggered or started a chain of events, I'm going to call BS on that. And last but not least, he fucked around and found out what happened. That's all I got.
Okay, okay. I do have a focused question now.
Go ahead.
I figured it out.
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay, here it is. Is it wrong that we laughing at this person got they beat up? Are we wrong for laughing at that? Am I wrong for saying that was probably the funniest joke that was told that night? That's wrong.
Well, damn! If that was the funniest joke, that mean that show really was right. That's probably why he ran up on the stage.
Is it wrong to laugh at this person's demise? No, seriously.
That's what Black people do. That's what we do. We laugh no matter what. So
yeah, we tend to laugh at the most wicked things. Although I'm take that back. I don't laugh at every wicked thing. Everything is fun, but
we find humor in everything. So I mean, I just think that the person, maybe he thought he was rushing Dave of yesteryear, like from the Chapelle show. Like, have you seen the size of this man now? Why would you? So, oh well.
Oh, that just remind me. Speaking of someone getting jacked up, I'm surprised we need. Well, probably don't have enough time, but I forgot we need to talk about Mike Tyson beating up the passenger who harassed him on the airplane.
You know what? No, wait. Well, hold on. That's the same. Hold on. That's the same trajectory. That's the same thing. That's pretty much the same thing. Like, I think the Dave Chapelle thing was worse, but yeah, dude got lumped up too. And I thought that was funny too. Leave people alone.
Yeah.
Leave people alone.
Who the hell would mess with Mike Tyson? He may be old, but he still can give you the business.
Right. I'm not gonna even lie. I felt like it was connected to Will. I think that audience members have felt like they're justified in going up and putting hands on comedians to quote unquote hold them accountable and punish them for saying jokes that aren't PC. And when I first saw it, I felt like that was someone who was angry about the jokes that he tells towards the LGBTQIA community, and they wanted to start a trend of let's just go up there and start, disrupting people, comedy routines, you know what I'm saying, who want to make fun of our community. That's what I thought.
And I find that so crazy, because why the hell would you pay money to go see somebody that you don't like and you don't like their joke? You pay to get your ass whooped.
Okay, that's a good question. For the same reason why the woman paid good money to go to that NBA playoff game, dress up like a referee underneath her clothes, and then thought it was a good idea to run on the court as a protest, and then proceeded to get swept up like dust.
When that happened, I'm not saying it didn't happen.
She paid probably at least $1,000 for that ticket to sit in the second row of a playoff game, to run out there, and she couldn't even finish.
Not even 3 steps. Not even 3 steps on the hardwood. Not even 3 steps, bro. She got swept up so quick.
So, I mean,
people play themselves on that one.
So let me just tell you a little something, because you already know this. I'm just trying to put this in perspective. When Black Lives Matter protesters, or any kind of protesters, people in the civil rights movement, when they protest, they do have money set aside if they get arrested so they can get bailed out. That's the same philosophy for anyone doing a protest. You know what I'm saying? You have certain resources, lawyers, money set aside, because the whole point is to make a point. That is why some people are actually, I know you can't take anything. I know a lot of people don't really trust what Tariq Nasheed says, but there's some people like Tariq Nasheed that says this was staged, that this was a person that was willing to take a butt whooping to prove a point. I don't know. There were Black people who actually practiced spitting on each other, hitting each other to go out and protest for civil rights. So I don't think it's far-fetched. And there's black people that protest that have money, you know what I'm saying, on lock to get bail and stuff like that. That's why I be telling people, if you really want to protest, that's a strategy. Like, I'm not just going out there. People are like, man, why aren't you going out there and protesting during the pandemic? For a number of reasons. The main reason why I ain't got bail money set up in an attorney on a retainer. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm an educator. If I go to jail, that's a problem. So that was the first thing that came to mind for me. Trisha must be in that dang private chat. Because y'all gonna get me distracted, man. I'm trying to make it here. But anyways, that's the first thing that came to my mind, is that was someone trying to do a protest, kind of like the person who tried to rush the court during the playoff game.
But what is the trajectory of all this? Because I keep waiting for someone to take preventative action. So what's to stop Dave from arming himself, or whoever? I'm going to tell these jokes. I can anticipate people bringing violence my way. And I just shoot you as soon as you get on stage. What's to stop that? What's to stop somebody from doing something stupid and extreme like that? It doesn't have to be a gun. It could be anything.
Bear mace. He could have a stun gun. I mean, he's in the public eye. He should have security detail anyway, so it doesn't get to that point. But he has every right, I would think, for some non-lethal force to stop people that are coming up. So,
how do they give it to hecklers? Like, you know, can you hear me? They have, you know, the people who be disrupting the show, usually have security tote them out in a comedy show. I don't know if they.
You have to be pretty bad to be toted out.
Yeah, I think it has to be really, really bad. Normally, the comedian usually controls the crowd. And
yeah, they try to put me out of a comedy show at the Parlor. I was sitting in the front row. I wouldn't leave. They tried to say I was heckling. No, what had happened was I took a nap during the show. And I was tired. But here's the deal. Real talk. Feel me? My date took a nap too. He was tired. So this white comedian was like, oh, so you're just gonna fall asleep at my show? Da-da-da-da. So I woke up and I was like, oh. And then I looked up and I was like, hey man, this is what I like to sit in the front, but I usually tell, you know, the comedians, hey man, relax, bro. Finish your set. I really do this, bro. Finish your set. Don't get distracted. So I hit him with that. I was like, hey man, finish your set, bro. Well, so you're a comedian, so you know that's the biggest form of disrespect is to fall asleep at someone's show. Da-da-da-da. I said, man, finish your set. Go on, bro. Like, I'm sure you got some really funny jokes to tell. This is not one of them. Go. Do your set. Security came over. Excuse me, sir. I need you. Come on. You need to go. No, not leaving. Not. Especially because I know you, because I was on stage like 3 months ago at a show. So I'm not going anywhere. He finally left me alone. I went over to talk to the comedian afterwards. He was still heated. I'm like, bro, why are you heated? Security guard ended up, apologizing. He said, man, I seen you on stage a couple of times opening up for people, man. I apologize, man. Dude was being a jerk. But yeah, that's usually how it works. But I mean, they could have killed that dude the other night at the Dave Chapelle show. And kind of would have been warranted. I'm saying, you don't know what he would have done. I mean, Selena got stabbed to death.
That's what I'm saying. You're crazy to try to get on somebody else's stage and start a fist fight. You're out of your mind. That's not normal.
That wasn't even a fist fight. I mean, this person literally tackled him.
Okay. But I'm saying his goal was to get on stage and incite conflict with the person who had the microphone.
Yeah.
Why does the person who have the microphone have to wait and figure out how much risk they're about to undergo?
Right.
Stand your ground, even when you're on stage. Stand your ground.
If you're in Texas, I'm just saying, like, this stuff can get bad quick. And I feel like if people are saying that Will Smith started this, then I guess that's their opinion. But there's just a certain level of irresponsibility that's going on. And if you want to be a martyr, I guess that you will make yourself a martyr. But I think that some of it is just stupid.
Mm.
Because you're not going to make a point. You're just going to be known as the person who got shot on stage by Dave Chappelle. That's what your legacy is going to be. It's not going to be whatever the joke was. They're just going to remember that you got shot on stage. I don't understand.
Well, and Logic's defender going to see, he probably wasn't funny anyway. Because a funny motherfucker could keep me up at all times, even if I am losing all. He probably wasn't that funny. He probably wasn't that funny.
But here's that Precious, you hit the nail on the head. That's what I was trying to tell dude. And I was trying to be nice, like, just finish your set, bro. Just tell jokes. He got mad.
They felt like on budget.
Because here it is, when you're a stand-up comedian, when you don't win, when you have the mic, like, that's not a good thing. Like, you have the mic and you're still not winning. Like, finish your jokes, bro. Go ahead, man. Finish your set, bro. Do your thing. People usually start heckling and doing stuff to people in the crowd when people, number one, are not laughing at your jokes, or you run out of material, or you forgot your material. Then it's like, you're not prepared. It's like, let me just start talking about dude's nose. Let me talk about old girl's weave. Let me talk about old boy who's sleep in the front row. Like, I just really, yeah. So I think that this is going to change things for comedy. I think comedy stages are going to be a lot like hip hop stages. Now, I come from the hip hop community too. If you put any parts of your body on a hip hop stage, you will get thrashed. Like, it's a part of the culture. There will be, man, and people know that. I remember what's old boy, because I got high. What's dude's name?
Redman? The Redman?
Afro Man.
Afro Man.
Yes.
Okay. I know it wasn't no man. I think of it. I know it wasn't.
Hey, this is what I wanted to ask y'all. Man, this woman jumped on the stage. He must have pieced her out so cold. I was like, Lord have mercy. Go ahead and lift it up. Lord have mercy. I mean, he pieced her so cold. So cold. Like, he pieced her like she took his winning lottery ticket. Like, so my question is this: is it justified if the person runs up, and kind of goes back to our last topic? If it's Dave Chappelle and a woman runs up, and is it justified if he pieces her out? Because Afro Man got a lot of heat from that.
That's not a woman. That's someone rushing the stage. I don't care about your gender. I'm gonna put it to you like this: they rushed the stage. Period.
Yeah.
But this is also where security is supposed to be there for, to prevent those type of things. I guess as a public figure, it's probably best you don't put the hand. Let your security do it. Do their job. I think we probably talking about the same person, that rapper who would say street fighting folks who were always touching the stage. I forgot that he was a light-skinned rapper too. Some few years back. I don't know his name. But
Kevin Gates?
Yes, him. That's
what President was talking about. Kevin Gates was on stage, and this young woman proceeded to try to unzip his pants or something. That she was touching him in his groin area, and he proceeded to thrash her. He gave her, he pieced her. I can't remember if it was a hand or a foot.
I think it was a foot. I think he kicked her in her chest or something like that. And I don't think that was the first time he had to do that. I think that was it happened like 2 other times after that. I think he had to do that. But I was thinking, like, you as the artist should not be getting your hands dirty. That's what your security is supposed to be for, to keep those type of people off of you, and to, of course, like you've been using this word all night, thrash their ass off the stage. Like, God forbid. I'm just saying, what's Beyonce's security?
No, listen. No, I hear you. But this should be valuable data for Dave Chappelle to get better security. I mean, the response needs to be better. I mean, because he needs like the NBA security. Because if you check the footage of the young lady who tried to get on the court, dude was already like this. Soon as she took a step, bam, he wrapped her up. Hey man, give him an award.
Give him a raise.
Cookie of the year in his job. So
Oh,
if you got good security, they shouldn't be allowing you to be tackled. And in all seriousness, they've got too comfortable. And he's gonna have to get some Secret Service type stuff going on. You know what I mean? From here on out. But anyways, that's that. And look, let me tell you a reason why I don't think it's far-fetched that it was all Spartan kick. Yes, sir. Let's see in the coming weeks. This is why I don't think it's far-fetched. Let's see if this person who rushed Dave Chapelle has a line of interviews and making money off this now.
After he gets out the hospital, you mean?
But see, this is where, and then
check the footage of
hold on. Hold on, someone got the
volume
volume turned up. You know this person's a rapper, right? Yeah, there's footage out there that they had a rap against Dave Chapelle a few months ago. So, and then they rushed the stage. Wasn't a very good rapper. They're probably as good as a rapper as they are a stage rusher.
SoundCloud rapper or a rapper.
I said that is goddamn.
But this person's gonna be dead in so bad on the front end. They're already starting off in debt. So if they're looking to make money off this, they're starting off in debt. Number one, for the medical fees. Number two, they're going to get charges filed against them, and then they might get a civil suit also from Dave's people. So they're starting off in debt. Might want to write a book, might come out with a mixtape, might come out with a podcast. I don't know, to cover their debt, but play stupid games, win stupid prizes. All right. So y'all want to head into the last one? Well, this might have to be a to be continued, but what are your thoughts on Roe versus Wade being repealed? And I want to start it off like this. I want to start the conversation off focused. Because if we just say, what are your thoughts? We can go all over the place. I read something that said, do you think that Roe versus Wade being revoked or repealed saves Black babies? Saves the lives of Black children? What do you think? It almost comes across as a riddle. You know what I mean? But I mean, I have my views. I mean, what do y'all think? Don't everyone jump in first.
Okay, fine. So it all depends on what you mean by the word survival, right? Because you can make an argument, and I put this in a chat, huh?
I didn't say survival. I said, does it save
lives of
Black children?
But I used the word survival intentionally.
Okay, got you.
What does that mean? What is the minimum threshold that you're willing to accept? Because if it's just about being born, and you look at disproportionate abortion rates, and you say, oh, well, Black people, the thing that kills the most Black people in the United States is abortion. I know people that say that. I know people that cite that as statistics.
Kanye West.
Okay, so he would just leave the argument right there and say, therefore, any limitation, because this is not a total ban that's being proposed. It's not a total ban that would be enacted. If it was enacted, it hasn't been yet. But even if it was just moved at all, then he would say statistically it's true that more Black children would be born. But then the subsequent follow-up question would be, and what do we think would happen to those children? At least I think that's the following question. And I think that the responses you're going to get from the rest of the contestants here are probably going to go into that. So I would just say yes, statistically speaking, it would increase the amount of live births, people who actually exist, but what that existence look like could be really problematic.
Yeah. What y'all think, Precious and Trisha?
Me and Bobby had this little conversation a lot earlier today. We kind of said the same thing. I mean, technically, yes, in terms of being born, sure. But what Bobby said, what about once they are here? And do this law even care about Black children? Let's go ahead and talk about that, because do we really think that they care about Black babies being born, or they'll just say, you know what, we will accept saving Black babies if we can still accomplish this particular goal? So, like I was saying, I'm like, yeah, do we really care about babies, or it's just a disguise of what they really want to do? And I kind of went into deep detail about that one. But I also want to say this. If well, first of all, let me just say that they say this. Shout out to the person who released that particular link, though. Whoever released that out, I hope they laying low. Whoever the person who leaked it, I hope they hiding out in Canada in the trees or somewhere, because whoever leaked that out, I'm pretty sure there's a manhunt for that person. But
go ahead and explain to the people what you're talking about, leaking.
Because apparently that, of course, it has not yet been overturned, but I think they did an opinion survey, and that's kind of where they got that detail from. It has not been done, but potentially that's what they could be aiming for. So it was like an opinion survey. I wish I could find that link. I have to go find it. Who's trying to call me?
So I'll clarify this, because this is a factual issue. So what happened is that in the state of Mississippi, somebody who had power, etc., put something forth before the court that was an outright ban on abortion, or let's just say it repealed whatever rights the state of Mississippi had previously. Eventually, this gets to Mississippi Supreme Court, and it gets upheld because it's Mississippi. Then at some point, the Supreme Court grants what we call certiorari, or review. And so the Supreme Court granted review on the Mississippi Supreme Court's decision, hypothetically, if that's what happened. Then they heard oral arguments in February. The Supreme Court heard oral arguments on the Mississippi law or policy. They had to come to a first round of debate within themselves internally about how they would decide on these oral arguments. That discussion turned into an opinion or something drafted by the justices, and they chose somebody to draft it, which was Alito, it looks like. And so what you saw was the majority opinion that was formed. And so it gives you a clue that the majority was, in fact, in favor of allowing whatever it was that this Mississippi version of a repeal would have been. And so somebody leaked a draft of the communications of the internal workings of the Supreme Court, and ultimately showed that if that was to come to an official count, it would have been supporting a ban in Mississippi, which would, of course, undermine the federal right that exists right now.
Thanks for that clarification. Appreciate it. That's why it's always good to have a lawyer on C-Talk. Carmelita said, if Roe versus Wade is repealed, there will be a rise out of the country birth control methods and back alley abortion. Probably, yeah.
Maybe we're traveling to states that will still have terminations available, or people collecting or saving a lot of Plan B now in the event that they need it in the future.
You like to do cases of water, huh?
Yes.
See.
Pills for medical abortions.
Right.
But I always think this is so interesting when they talk about Black babies, because there are so many steps that need to happen, and there should be interventions that people are talking about before the decision to have an abortion, as well as the fact that you're a baby, what, 12 months? Maybe 20, this black babies turn into black adults. Change the word to adults. Will it save black adults? Well, maybe the pregnant adult, considering the fact that Black women have such a high mortality rate. We are literally risking our lives anytime that we decide to have a child to term, but no one's addressing that part. Yeah, it's about Black. I hate seeing the word babies all the time because people just think of, babies cute, wonderful, but yeah, babies turn into adults, and there are a whole lot of areas in which we clearly show that we don't care about saving Black adults. So why just pick 0 to 12 months that we're concerned about? And also, so even with Roe versus Wade being repealed, there are how many years did it look like this was going to happen? And people were just la, 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 it won't happen, la, 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 la. And you're getting all these other judges on, and it's like, now that it's happened, or knock wood, that it's going to happen, now everyone's like, oh, we've got to do something. Like, you should have been doing something all the other years. That, I mean, even when you think like with Bader Ginsburg, she should have or could have stepped down earlier in order to have someone appointed, but made the decision not to. So there are a lot of things that had to happen in order for this to happen, and now everyone's acting like they're shocked and our heads are on fire and we need to do something. It's just strange. It's American.
And another I want to add is that it kind of makes me wonder, this could be a gatekeep to other laws or bills in place that could also be repealed. Like if they do this one, I can only imagine what other liberties that they're gonna try to repeal as well down the line if they get away with this.
Civil Rights Act.
I don't put it past none of them jokers, so I'm thinking proactively. So I was like, I can only imagine what other laws that they're gonna try to pull back.
So that was my initial thought, was that I read the opinion that was posted on Politico, and of course they just took sound bites, but Alito, the person who wrote the opinion for the majority, basically says that Roe versus Wade was decided incorrectly. If you were to go and read a survey of commentary from judges on the integration of schools and the integration of society, it reads the exact same way, which is that they say there was no legal basis. And that's an important thing to understand, because when we talk about the incorporation of the Bill of Rights, but also the Constitution, it falls short of inclusion because when it was drafted, it was only contemplating certain parties. Mm-hmm. And so if you have a document and you're saying, everything that is law now has to refer back to our original drafting of the Constitution. If you take that position, which a lot of our conservative judges do, and justices, then you will find that a lot of modern rights that have popped up in the last 25 years are at risk, because you will not find language in the Constitution as it was originally drafted that supports, actually from a legal perspective, giving folks rights that didn't have them before. And that's the reason why you saw somebody, I think, actually on the record say that some of these states are going to start to potentially look at interracial marriage, which is funny to me, because it's too late. But they're talking about repealing that, and what you're gonna find is that we're talking about tourism now in the United States, tourism on personal liberties. So there's certain states you're gonna have to go to get married, and obviously, if you take it that far, then we know what that means for LGBTQ folks. But there's a legal basis essentially to repeal anything if the argument is that public policy decisions that are progressive are not backed by our Constitution that was originally drafted, then yeah, Precious, that is a concern. There is going to be a concern about all the individual rights that have popped up in recent memory and what that means for them. That's a real concern that we should have. And you can imagine a housing market, and then this will be the next thing, is what does that look like? So if you want to move to the West Coast where these rights exist and they're going to exist in our state constitutions, think about how expensive that's going to be. Because there's going to be a rush of people that are trying to migrate where they have these rights. what does it look like to be a woman who's born in, and I just call them this still, so I apologize, but the slave states, like the slave states, that's where the abortion is the most disproportional. So if you're there and you're already in the most impoverished parts of the United States and you're Black, there's going to be a ban in that. There's going to be a ban there. That's what we know about those states. What access do you have? Are you going to vacation to the West Coast? Is that what you're going to have to do? If you're gay and you're in Florida, are you going to have to come to Washington to get married? And are you going to want to move back to Florida? Are you want to go back to Florida? Are you going to have to buy a house in King County? Because that's kind of what I see when I look at the landscape, how the collateral consequences of stuff like this in the long run, it will affect everything.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, like this has been one of like Kanye West's main talking points. And that's the reason why I'd be like, bro, just make beats and rap over beats for other people. Like you're not a genius. Like please don't try to be a scholar. But people like he'll be on Drink Champs or he'll be on Joe Rogan or he'll be on whatever. And that's one of the main stats he throws out. Him and Angela Stanton. You know, one of the main killers, the number one killer of Black children and Black babies and Black people. But it doesn't, you know, life doesn't begin and end at birth. Like just because, like Bobby said, just because you give birth to a human being doesn't mean like you're successful in not killing that human being. I think they need to put more resources and more attention and more social design into the circumstances and the conditions that make people want to have abortions and that lead to it. And that would, you know, start giving people incentives for, you know what I'm saying, you know, curating or thinking that they can, you know, bring a child into this world in a healthy manner.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then on the flip end, I agree with, you know, anytime they start handing down these laws, I start to think about what Bobby was saying. It's like a lot of our laws that are getting changed are because they were the foundation of, chattel slavery. And I agree with Trudy. I think that it has something to do with, she said, I believe they are worried about their European heritage going into extinction. I'm furious that old white men want to tell me what to do with my body when there's no way in hell any of those MFers could grow a whole human being. But I think there is something there with this law being connected to old chattel slavery and just like colonial white supremacy. Whether it's like, let's allow them to have more children so they can be in these conditions that are poor so they can continually perpetuate this gap between the rich and the poor. And we will have a continual, you know what I'm saying, population of people who are under these conditions that we can just use, you know what I'm saying, for cheap labor and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's true or not, but I know when laws are passed, that they usually impact Black and brown marginalized communities the most. And I wonder how that's going to impact us saying if Roe versus Wade is being repealed. I always think about that. I thought about that during the pandemic. It impacted our communities the most. You know what I'm saying? Because we're already at a deficit. And I wonder how this is going to perpetuate and maintain the gap between, you know what I'm saying, poor Black and brown marginalized people and affluent white people and wealthy white people. Because they ain't trying, they're not trying to change the dynamic of how this country works. They're not trying to, you know, do better. That's why when people say, well, the education system doesn't work for Black people, it depends on who you ask. When they say, oh, the education system doesn't work for people, depends on who you ask, because it's working really, really good for white folks, especially the wealthy. I think, you know what I'm saying? Especially when we're talking about to prison to school pipeline, especially when we talk about even when you go to college, financial and economic debt is just a different form of slavery.
That's another.
It's working. It's working for a certain group of people very well.
Not us.
Trisha will probably, have a lot to say about this, but I just think about proportions. So if you say I'm going to increase the Black population in the United States by 12%, right? Okay, so out of your 12%, what percentage of them are going to be in poverty, right? So let's just say it's like 8.5 or 9.5%, because I think that's probably about right. Are you going to increase the social services budgets by the same number? Because that's the whole increase in wages, but we increase the rent problem. Like that's the, okay, we'll pay you 30 cents more an hour and we'll make the bread 31 cents more expensive. Because that's the issue. If you're going to have proportionality, then I guess that the objections are more, going to come from women, obviously, on grounds of bodily autonomy. And those arguments will never go away. But I think from a practicality standpoint, if you're going to increase the population, you also have to increase the funding. And I just don't see any evidence that that's going to happen from the people who are most stringent about this bill, because those are people that don't believe, generally speaking, in funding social services. And that's the disconnect for me, at least on that level.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, I just think either way, I think when abortions are outlawed and when abortions are legal, it's going to be funneled into an algorithm where we finish last.
But we're already in last. So it's more, like you said, it's about growing the pool at the bottom.
So,
but that also creates...
It's going to impact us the most because it's going to go into the algorithm. It's going to go into the social algorithm.
Right. But I'm just saying that there's even more basic collateral consequences like housing. If you increase your population and you have the same amount of housing, like that's a giveaway to everybody who sells.
Let me tell you how that works.
But you also keep your jails full. Someone can be employed.
Trisha, that is exactly where I was going to go.
That's where everyone's going.
Housing becomes the prison industrial complex.
Right.
We're going to house them there. Especially when you put the 13th Amendment in there. Like I'm telling you, it's all algorithms.
Right.
You can treat a person just like an enslaved person if they commit a crime.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we'll house you in prison. And then we'll make money off it because we'll privatize prisons.
Right.
That got reversed.
Yeah, free labor or very cheap labor, a penny a day or something.
Absolutely.
I said for future. Didn't I say that, Bobby, in the conversation? They look up for future workers. I said that earlier.
And there you have your workers.
Earlier.
Well, that goes to the point that was made earlier. Like if we have our shrinking white population who are getting wealthier with time because, like just looking at the resources getting concentrated, then what is that the workforce is also shrinking, and the skilled workforce is gonna shrink. And so like there's this whole idea of where do we get the next crop of employees that are going to do the bottom of society's work. We have a perfect setup. We can create more white upper management so long as we have enough brown children who are impoverished, because the rise in education of Black women, for example, that creates problems from a competitive standpoint in leadership. But if that is such a small percentage of the overall pool, then we're back on top.
Right. And also, I was just thinking that if you look at the map of the states that have preemptive rules in the event that Roe versus Wade is repealed, and I hate to pick on my family's home state of Louisiana, but they're one of those states. They also happen to be a state with a large penitentiary system that includes organic farming and all kinds of, so hey, in 18 years, not even 18, because you can probably be sent like at 13, 14. So in 13 to 14 years, they have replenished their stock And yeah, so it'd be interesting to see the states that would repeal or would definitely repeal abortions if those states have privatized prison systems. And I'm pretty sure that the majority do.
Yeah. I mean, I just find it hard to really trust that you really care about this is about life and the living and protecting the living when when children are actually born, you just don't do a good job of protecting them once they're alive.
They get slaughtered in school,
This
in
has
school
gotta be
shootings.
just
They don't give a
about
damn
birth.
about these kids.
You said what?
After these kids getting slaughtered in schoolhouses, they don't care about these kids. I've been saying
Yeah.
they don't care about these children.
And what are they doing to improve like our mortality rate in terms of giving birth? I don't see anyone worried about the fact that yeah, if the mother dies in childbirth, and if you're Black, you're more likely to die in childbirth. What are you doing to ensure that we can carry to term and live afterwards?
Yeah.
I don't see anyone worried about that.
I think if you really wanted like to piggyback and to add on to what Trisha just now said, is you really want to protect the living, and if that's what it's about, then why do we have such a problem with the medical apartheid? Like, you know what I'm saying? Why are we dying so much sooner than white folks? You know what I mean? Why is it that Black women are 50, what they say, 50% more likely to survive a birth if they're given, if it's a Black doctor that gives birth to the children? Like, what's that about? Like, just little stats like that. Like, what's that about? I mean, I read, some of the sister's book, Medical Apartheid. Like, if you really, really about that life, pun intended, you really about that life, let's really start putting resources in providing for the living if you're really about that life. It's not just about, hey man, I'm gonna take away, your right to kill at birth. You know what I mean? Okay, after the child is born, like, what's the deal? But we know that the medical apartheid does wonderful things for our capitalist economy. It's great. It works for the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. It's definitely working.
Right.
So
they're still going to have their abortions. They'll just get on a plane and go to another
that's a whole
country or have their doctor
that's
do
a
it.
whole different story. Yeah, because they're going to have the resources and the privilege to do that.
Mhm.
And it's just sad, because it's going to just everywhere you turn. Like I mean, just put it into the algorithm. Even we talk about the legalization, right, of drugs. You feel me? There it is again. We're always impacted the most. Same corners that where brothers and sisters used to sell weed on, they got Uncle Ike's now and dispensaries. You know what I mean? And all these people going to prison, you know what I'm saying, like family members of mine, for doing heroin. Now they're talking about legalizing heroin and they're giving out free needles. Man, what were some of my family members was giving free needles? You know what I'm saying, on Second and Pike. You feel me? I mean, it's just crazy, man. It's just really interesting. You could put literally anything into the social algorithm, and Black and brown people who are marginalized are always going to finish last. Simple. It's simple mathematics. All right, let's get into it. What's the plan of action? Pick something to say that came out of all these three discussions. You know what I'm saying? But we talked, like I said, we talked about why men don't report their abuse, why some men don't report their abuse. We talked about the person who got turned into a pretzel, aka action figure, when they rushed the stage, the Dave Chapelle show. He got thrashed. And then we talked about Roe versus Wade potentially being repealed. Like, just pick one or anything. Like, what's the plan of action as we move forward?
So for me, I'll say on Roe versus Wade. I think that the overwhelming reaction to this from our community is going to have to be an increase in adoptions and an increase in sort of going back to, I guess, our African roots in terms of raising children in villages. If we're going to have more kids, then people are going to have to be more altruistic. Like, we can't do that thing where we say, well, them kids over there, those are their kids. They're not mine. I'm not responsible for them. If we're going to have this gigantic increase in our population and we don't want to see them just turn into statistics, it's going to create more of an obligation for people in our community who have the resources to step up, So I think for those of you that have children now, you look at the survey, the future, and you start putting that portion of energy into making sure that they're the type of person that feels a responsibility to their entire community. Because if you don't, then we're just going to have more issues moving forward with those people that wouldn't have existed, frankly, that will. Because they got to have somewhere to go. So that means more mentors. That means more people adopting. That means more coaches, more life coaches, more people who are willing to give second chances. It's all of that.
That's a good one. I like that. That's good. I guess I'll go next. I'll just go real quick because mine's real quick. My plan of action, based on what we talked today, is just men need to create safe places for them to hurt and heal and be vulnerable. And I encourage any men that are out there today. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be exact. You can build the house while you're still trying to live in it. And what I mean by that is, like, start a men's group, like, yesterday. And whereas y'all just get together and you guys talk about what's on your hearts and your mind and how y'all can be better people. So that's what I would say. That would be my plan of action. Create safe places for you to hurt and heal, man.
Well, Lodge, you already kind of hit on that one with the Johnny Depp thing, so I'm going to skip that one. At the Dave Chapelle thing, you already know the deal. Keep your ass off the stage, or just don't go to the thing. You're better off just doing that, or you're gonna get towed up. As for the Roe versus Wade, look here, we so talk. This the problem I have with this society. We're quick to talk about the effects of something or what's going on, but we don't ever ask why they're happening in the first place. So for them to do this type of thing, instead of saying women are not having enough babies or vice versa, you need to ask why they're not. Why are they getting an abortion? That's what you need to look into. If you really give a damn about the kid, although I'm pretty damn sure they don't. I've said this multiple times, they don't. That if you really want to resolve something, you have to look at the effects, and not just with this, but with many things in life. Instead of looking at what has happened or what is currently happening, look how we got there in the first place. And it's so funny. I forgot who I said this to. I said, it's so funny, in college in 2009, I remember reading in one of my books, I think it was social studies, and they predicted in 2025 that they saw that it would be more Hispanics, will be the highest number than any other ethnic group, and the whites will be at the bottom. And this was 2009, y'all. I was 19 years old when I read that, and I just turned 32 on Sunday. So right now it seems like that is becoming a reality, and that's why they're trying to pull this type of stunt. But this is why I also want to say why voting is so important. If this don't make you want to go out and vote, I don't know what will. But start really examining your senator, your judge, and look at all of them. If you choose, because like I said before, if they do try to go through to that, I'm pretty sure there'll be no more BS down the road. And that's all I got.
Thank you. She does not win her.
Oh, wow. I got two quick ones, I think. First, in terms of Roe v. Wade, even with Roe v. Wade being enforced now, abortion is not an easy decision, nor is deciding to have a child. So there are a million steps that occur before that decision happens. So I'm hoping that people aren't hypocrites and they are looking at what those other steps are and supporting resolving those issues, everything from like molestation in families, because 12, 13-year-olds are getting pregnant from things, trigger warning, than incest occurring in families or sexual assault. So it's not an easy decision. It should be then, I guess, a private decision. But no matter where you fall, if you're for or against, examine where you are in terms of supporting Black adults throughout the entire trajectory as what, fetus to adult. Make sure that you're being consistent. And then I'll jump to the Dave Chapelle thing. I'm sorry, entertainers, it is now 2020. You cannot live your life like before. And even before, I mean, come on, like John Lennon was killed. There are things that people that you think are fans can do to harm you. And also, coming from an entertainment family, I also know that sometimes you would use your security detail to get someone that's cute up on the stage. You don't need to do that anymore. You just need to worry about protecting yourself. Not every fan is a fan that's coming up because they think that you're great. And I guess now at 2022, you can't just have anybody up on your stage, not even the cute one that you want to hang out with afterwards, or you want security to get the number for. No, you need to protect yourself.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Go ahead, Precious.
I kind of want to touch on what Trisha said about how 13-year-olds can end up pregnant. I saw a study that say that many young teenage girls who are pregnant by that are also impregnated by men who range from ages 20 to 29. 30% of those pregnancies. That's a high ass number. I don't care what anybody said. That's pretty damn high. So that's just an FYI for y'all. So if they try to overturn it, I can only imagine the rise of adult, significantly older males definitely preying on younger girls. I mean, granted, they're already doing it now, but again, if they already flipping that back, I can only imagine the other laws down the line. But that's just an FYI on that.
Got you. Okay, this has been another good one. Seed Talk. I wanted to let y'all know Life Enrichment Bookstore is revitalizing itself. So at least once a month, we're going to be down there, the Griot Party Experience, spoken word storytelling theater. We're going to be down there May 21st at 5 p.m. May 21st at 5 p.m. May 21st at 5 p.m. Yeah, I'm getting my Umar Johnson on. May 21st, 5 p.m., Life Enrichment Bookstore. We're going to be there. No, it's going to be an open mic, seriously. So come on down, bring your poetry. We're going to have a sign-up list. I would love to have Trisha down there. I want to get Trisha to play some violin for us, one day and be a part of the Griot Party Experience band. So shout out to Carmelita, who came and checked us out. Our last Griot Party Experience. Of course, Princess was there. Shout out to Elijah and Ibrahim and Hassan and Everett, who did the DJing. Like Life Enrichment Bookstore is back in the heart of the Columbia City, area and district. So check us out May 21st, 5 p.m. at Life Enrichment Bookstore. I'll put it in the comments. But Life, it's back. Spoken word storytelling theater. So love y'all. Bobby, I see you. Trisha, see you. Precious, see you. Love y'all. Peace. Seed Talk. See y'all next time.
Bye.
Peace.